Gino, it's been a while since you and I have had a chance to talk, my friend. I think it was like, oh my goodness, could have been like 10 or 12 years from the last time I saw you actually here in the 680 News Studios. And I had a great conversation with you, and I'm even happier that I'm getting a chance to talk to you now. Plus, the fact that you're going to be up in Blue Mountain for this great Jazz Fest. I got to ask you first, how do you feel about being up there for the Jazz Festival?
Well, it's the first time, Rudy, and I'll report to you after I'm there. But, I tell you, I've heard nothing but great things about it. And a couple of my friends from the Yellow Jackets are also playing there, too, I believe the night before.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great weekend. I mean, especially, too, with the Commodores up there, too. I mean, it's such a cool mix, I mean, with your style and Yellow Jack. I mean, it really is, if you want to talk about, really great music, this is the kind of weekend you want to hang out.
Well, I look forward to it. I mean, the band is also looking forward to it. Tomorrow we got our last rehearsal, just to make sure all the screws are tightened.
I don't think you have too much to worry about. I got to ask you, though, too, man. After all these years, I mean, you're still doing your thing. I was on your website. A lot of tours happening. The love of music,
Yep.
man. What has kept you going after all these years?
Well, in the end, it's very simple. You either love what you do or you don't. And I really love what I do. And despite, the hurdles and the setbacks here and there, and whether they be, setbacks caused by the business or by the general economy or by setbacks in health. A couple of years ago I had an ear accident where there was a loud blast on stage and really kind of set me back for a while. And I'm healing marvelously from it. And the way I'm healing is by actually going out there and just doing what I do. And it's an amazing thing. You just keep rolling with it. And you find the beauty in even some pretty dark moments.
You've been able to do that. And if you think about this, too, dark moments, I mean, your music has really helped a lot of people through their dark moments. When you've realized that you've connected with so many fans around the world, I mean, that's got to be a great thing for you also.
Yeah, I do, read those little quotations on Facebook or the site, or sometimes I get letters from people, and it really is gratifying to know that, you do touch people in deep ways.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about your career and how everything started off. This was really a family thing. It was almost as if you were born to be in the music business.
It seems like I had no choice. My dad was, a big band singer, and music was playing 24/7 at the house all the time. And I was introduced to great music. I mean, jazz, big band, Latin, opera, classical, I mean, you name it. And by the time I was 9, I mean, I started playing the drums, and I took lessons, and I was doggedly determined to be a drummer. And so I studied and played for 4 or 5 years, and actually more than that, till I was about maybe 2021. I played the drums on my first record for A&M.
I didn't realize that you started off like that. That's crazy. I mean, did you know even by then that this was something that you wanted to do for the rest of your life?
Well, when you're 9 or 10, you're not thinking about the rest of your life. The rest of your life is the next moment. And I knew that the next moment I'd be picking up a pair of sticks and hitting something with it until I was, I think, 11 when my dad bought me my first Ludwig set, which was just an amazing drum set. It was the classic, Ringo Starr set, or Joe Morello set, in those days. And I was so in love with my drums, I just sometimes get up at night, couldn't sleep, and just go look at them. I knew I couldn't hit them.
But somewhere along the line, too, it wasn't just drums. The vocals got in there, too. When did you start actually singing?
It was sort of an accident. We were doing, we had a top 40 band, an R&B band, soul band, when I was 13. And there was a big hit by Tom Jones's first hit, It's Not Unusual, and sort of kind of fit in our format. And we got the music down to it, but our lead singer really couldn't quite make the notes that Tom Jones was doing. So I guess I could, and I kept showing him how to do it, and then everybody decided, well, Gino, you ought to sing it. So I was singing it behind the drums, and my father came down stairs while we were rehearsing. He says, son, he says, you're going to have to get off the drums and go in front of the mic. It's the only way it's going to be effective. And our lead singer played a little bit of drums. So I tell you, I was really scared. I mean, there was no microphone thick enough, no microphone stand thick enough to hide me. Although I really tried my best to hide behind that stand. So I got up and I sang It's Unusual when I was 14 at my first gig, a dance hall gig here, in Montreal. And I noticed by the end of the song I had quite an applause and quite a reaction, and I was kind of hooked ever since then.
Well, you kind of said it just a few minutes ago, R&B soul. That was something you really enjoyed performing.
It was, because it gave me a chance to, open up vocally. And although I love big band singers like Sinatra and Bennett, my heart really belonged to contemporary music. And I listened to all those soul singers: Wilson Pickett, Otis Redding, and Marvin Gaye, and Stevie Wonder. Since I was a toddler, and so I really wanted to be as good as they could be, or if possibly as good as they could be.
When did you get signed with? It was A&M, correct?
Yeah, when I was 20, just about 21.
Did you feel like you were ready to break through back then?
No, absolutely not. But I knew it was time, and I had pined for it for such a long time since graduating high school. I lived in New York for 2 years, trying hard to get a record deal. In those days, it was the thing to do, to get a record deal. And I finally did, and when I did, it lasted for 7 or 8 years with A&M, and I got to record, the music that I really wanted to record, which was just really a blessing for me.
Now, people should realize something, too, because we are talking 70s here. So being Canadian, being Caucasian, singing R&B, and doing the breakthrough music that you did, that's something that's extremely significant. In fact, one of the things I always remember, too, is you were one of the first guys I ever saw, Caucasian, that was on Soul Train. And I can only put in a handful. It would be David Bowie, yourself, Casey and the Sunshine Band, and Elton John. You did not see that much back then, but you were on there several times.
Yeah, we were on 3 times, and I believe we were the first, that did it. And it was an interesting story how that happened. I had been staying at a hotel called the Hallmark, while recording the Powerful People album, and I was a bit frustrated with how the tracks were turning out. So I went to the poolside to have a nap, and I heard one of my songs being sung by poolside, echoing off the walls. And lo and behold, it was Stevie Wonder and his brother, and I traced them, and they recognized me. Of course, his brother recognized me, and then Steve gave me a big hug, and I exchanged hugs, and he asked me at the time, he said to me that Shaka Khan was not able to do his 7 or 8 night stint, and so he asked me to do that short tour, and I said yes. So by the time I got to Cincinnati, I got a call from Don Cornelius, who was the, I think, producer and head of, executive producer also of Soul Train. And he asked me to do Soul Train because by that time, People Gotta Move was released, and it was climbing up the R&B charts. And I told Don Cornelius, I said, "You realize I'm a white guy?" And he said, "Yeah, but I consider you off-white. So come and do the show." So I went on the show, and I asked him, "Would you consider if we chose to do a live version of it?" He even gave in to that. So I was really pleased to be able to do something not other than just mimic the record.
Oh, my goodness, that is a fantastic story. But did you realize the groundbreaking music that you were doing back then, especially, like I said, with all those elements, and of course being Canadian, I can almost guarantee you a lot of people were like, yeah, he ain't Canadian, he's got to be, I don't know, English or something like that.
Well, Canadian musicians were still in their infant stages. I mean, there was some Canadian successes, like Paul Anka in the late 50s, early 60s, and then the Guess Who. But it's really not until, I would say, the early to mid-'80s, after Celine Dion really crashed through, that Canadian producers, musicians, studios really became world-class. And when that happened, then an artist could really conduct his career from Canada, like Bryan Adams and a few other artists did. Then was no reason to actually have to go down south to record in an American studio with an American producer engineer. So in a matter of 10 or 15 years, all the Canadian music business caught up.
If you had to look at all your hits, which one would you say for you was the most important? I mean, you probably always hear people talking about I Just Want to Stop as the one that always sticks in your head. But for you, though, what was the most significant song and why?
Well, I mean, the first most important song was, obviously not my best song, but it caught on, and it was People Gotta Move, because I was 22 years old, and it was the first taste of selling hundreds of thousands of records, albums, the first taste of real success, and top 20 on the Billboard charts and top 10 on the R&B charts. So I mean, to have a real taste of it, that was pivotal for me. And obviously, I Just Want to Stop and Living Inside Myself were important to me. I Just Want to Stop because it really, finally hit the masses, worldwide. And Living Inside Myself, I guess, important because I just proved to myself I could do it again.
You definitely did with that. Was there a certain point where you decided to leave the business? I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah. I mean, after the Nightwalker album, I ran into difficulties with the record company at the time, creatively. And it just was a confusing time for me because I had been so into music all my life, all my conscious life, that by the time I was 30, or 29 at the time, when I ran into trouble, I didn't know how to deal with it psychologically. So, of course, a bad thing became a good thing in the sense that I was kind of blacklisted for 3 years and not able to record for anybody. And so I just kind of turned my face on the business, and I went back to college and I started studying minority literature, which led me to theology, and I really got immersed in studying theology for a good 5 or 6 years. That was while I was recording Black Cars and Big Dreamers Never Sleep, Wild Horses, and Inconsolable Man. So although I was recording, I didn't tour for 12 years. I was really, really busy studying.
You know what? Black Cars, still, for me, my favorite. I can put that on anytime, blare that out, and you get people moving on that song. I heard, and I think we had a chance to talk about this, I wasn't sure or not, but there was a rumor years ago that the video, Black Cars, the models, were they all women? Yes or no?
No. There's only one woman, and everybody else on the set, including me, thankfully not in drag, were men. When I got there, I looked at the English director. I said, "What are we doing?" And he says, "Just go with it." I said, "Okay." And we just went with it, and it was so much fun. And of course, the whole chorus line, the dancing sequence, they were all women, But the guy really had a vision, and everybody that acted in it and played a part, did it so well that it remained, to this day, to me, a pretty unique video.
Are you kidding? I watched that video. In fact, I was watching it the other day, too, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, okay, so I couldn't tell which was which, to be honest with you.
Well, that was the Brits are always cutting edge for everything, as far as cultural or social, and so that the whole transgender, transvestite thing, he wanted to put that on as a sort of symbolic, a metaphorical, how can I say, allusion to someone being, the outcast or someone living on the fringes, as the song is kind of about, So he succeeded. But what people don't really know is that, there were food fights there. People were throwing bras at each other. It's pretty hilarious.
See, I love hearing about those inside stories because then when I look back at the videos, I go, yeah, okay, I know what's really going on here.
Yeah.
You like I said, you've written books, toured, still releasing albums. In fact, you just, recently released a live DVD?
Yep, live in L.A. About 4 months ago, we recorded a concert with this Portland band that I'm bringing to the Jazz Festival in Beverly Hills at the Saban Theater, and I really think we managed to capture a great performance, and that's what's out right now.
Very cool. What can fans expect for the big performance that's going to be happening at Blue Mountain? What kind of shows are going to be?
Well, we're going to do our full-on set. You know, it's an 8-piece band, and it's really, I mean, we go back to the early years, to the early 70s, to stuff that's been just recorded in the last 3-4 years.
I'm definitely looking forward to it, man. And also, if I'm correct, too, you're doing a book signing also, right?
I believe so, but I'm always the last to know, Rudy. So
I thought I saw something. I think you are doing a book signing. I do believe you're doing it on Thursday. And again, I do believe you're doing it at the chapters up at Blue Mountain. So I'm giving you the
heads up. Then I guess I'll have to be there.
I'll give you the heads up. Any chance that you're going to be releasing any new music? Or is
there
even...
I'm working on a double CD set right now, and that will be in 2015. I've gotten really enamored with Americana-style music, including sort of jazzy blues stuff, which I really haven't really earnestly approached. And so the first CD will be this Americana style, mixed in, of course, with classical and jazz. And then the second CD will be a redo on some of my favorite songs. Like Omens of Love and Ugly Man, and maybe a couple of songs from the 90s, a couple of songs from the 80s, some from the 2000s. So it'll one CD will be looking ahead, and then one CD will be looking back with a sense of the present.
Well, I'm looking forward to all of that. Look, my friend, I'm going to let you go. I got to say thank you so much again for the interview, man. Looking forward to seeing you up there at Blue Mountain, and man, it is always great talking to you. Let's talk again when the new album comes out.
All right, Rudy. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.